the free iHeartRadio app.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Tuesday. It is May the 12th. My name is Ryan. We got Lisa on the news desk. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm very good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm great. May 12th, of course. Everybody knows this.
Whoa.
It's Census Day. That's what it is.
Some of us know it too well.
Yeah. Well, today is the deadline, kind of, to complete the census.
What do you mean, kind of?
Kind of. Well, actually, that's an interesting point. Today is kind of technically the deadline. It's also technically like the snapshot day. So today is supposed to be the day that is reflected in the census.
Okay.
So even if you filled it out a few days ago, or even if you end up filling it out a few days past the deadline, you're supposed to fill it out reflecting the state of your household on May 12th.
Oh, I failed.
So, like if you had, if you were filling it out on May the 6th and you had a guest staying with you, you'd reflect the guest on that. You wouldn't reflect the guest on that day because you're reflecting May 12th.
Oh.
If that makes any sense.
It's a tad confusing first thing in the morning at 6:15, but hey, I got it.
And as for the deadline, it is the deadline, so technically you are supposed to do it today, but my understanding from the folks at Statistics Canada, who are the ones administering the census, they do continue to accept submissions afterwards. You don't get a penalty right away, but what you could get is if you don't fill it out by, say, June, I think that's the timeline they gave,
right?
You might start getting the phone calls.
Knock on the door.
They literally will sometimes come and knock on your door, you're right.
Wow.
And then by July, you might start getting final reminder letters saying, look, you got to do this. It's actually a legal obligation.
Correct.
In this country that could result in fines. So they start pestering you before it gets to be too much. So, I mean, you could just fill it out at the deadline, fill it out today, but it doesn't instantly mean you've missed it. You can still fill it out. They still want you to fill it out if you, for some reason, don't have your stuff all together today.
Right. So anybody who's been around long enough knows how census works.
Yeah.
Did you have to fill it out?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm going to fill it out today on the deadline day.
Okay, good for you. I did mine last week, pretending it was the 12th. No, actually, I just filled it out.
Yeah.
It's not much changes in that much in my world. I got the short version.
Okay, yeah, because some people get the long version.
Well, that's what I'm hearing about.
And you know what's funny?
What's
some
funny?
People like getting the long version.
Well, this person didn't, actually.
Okay.
They thought the questions were pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And just why? There was a lot of why. Not a little invasive, maybe, but, just having to think where I was 5 years ago. And this isn't me. I didn't get the long. I got the short, which I was done in 3 minutes. It's like, wow, that was easy. But now I'm hearing the other side of it. Really having to go back. Like when you're applying for official paperwork, if you want to visit certain countries, and you have to explain even your passport, or explain where you've lived 5 years ago, your postal code, what dog you owned. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But as an example of like how it felt, yeah.
Well, it was just having to really be in depth. Some of the questions, the in-depth questions, and what the secondary question that you have from it is why, like how does and I'm not saying it doesn't help. There's always that question as to why, knowing that, how's that going to help with Canadians, right? And getting basically a snapshot of our life. But obviously we know it does because we have information come out from census afterwards every time that explains, sort of a bird's eye view of where Canadians were, how we've migrated, what we were doing, what color pants we were wearing 5 years ago, that kind of stuff. So it's of interest,
Yeah, it helps plan all those government services. But, which makes sense. Like, where are we going to need to build schools? What kind of, marginalized people do we need to assist in what area? There's those kind of things. But
all of those things are important. But as you're sitting down with your glass of wine or your tea to do this, know that, government needs to know. And it's not invasive. It's just some of the questions are different and not maybe what you expect. If you get the long one.
Texter at 71010 says, the long version is hellish. It took me well over an hour to fill out.
See, I was going to let you say it. So.
We had to help my 83-year-old mother who's not computer savvy. The questions were ridiculous. That's one of our texters.
Thank you.
And another texter says, I don't even have my census form yet. Go figure.
Well, you have to, you can do the paper, but you got to ask for it. I think you got to go online to get it.
Yeah.
You're given a code.
Look it up because they will come knocking on the door if you don't.
All right.
But anyways, it's 6:18. Let us know how you feel. What's going on beyond the census day, Lisa?
A Victoria-based lawyer has been appointed by the BC Supreme Court by Federal Justice Minister Sean Fraser. Jeffrey W. Locke was associate counsel at MacDonald Stewart in Victoria. He takes the place of another Victoria Justice, J.A. Power, who was elected for the part-time role in February. The UVic grad was called to the bar in 1997. The European Union imposing sanctions on 16 officials accused of helping Russia abduct tens of thousands of Ukrainian children, many of whom were forced to change their identities or be put up for adoption. The EU and Canada hosting a meeting on the issue in Brussels yesterday to increase diplomatic pressure on Russia. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says that Canada supports those holding those responsible to account. Just have to figure out who that is. And spring outdoor activities in full swing, don't we note it? Gardening, trimming trees, washing windows, sports, everything involving ladders and sharp tools. BC Hydro Crew is asking you to watch out for power lines because getting too close, of course, can bring deadly consequences. Pretty final. BC Hydro has a contest running online for you should know about. It quizzes you about staying safe around power lines and electrical equipment. Very easy to fill out. And if you fill it out, you'll be entered to win a $500 Canadian Tire gift certificate. That's worth the price of admission. That's your news to 619.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about a new invasive species to watch out for around the Capital Regional District. This one's a plant, and the name, this thing is named as if it's a villain.
Okay.
So it's already an invasive species,
right.
So it's already got some bad press. But then the name, it's the egg leaf spurge.
Well, I just got fear in my heart hearing that.
The spurge that you need to watch out for. Oh, the egg part got you.
Well,
Okay,
so it sounds like something I have for breakfast.
The egg leaf spurge?
Well, maybe it's a side dish. But
I'll have a coffee and an egg leaf spurge, sunny side up.
Well, yeah.
Is that okay?
With a nice lemon dressing, sure.
I don't. Yeah. Anyways, what is it?
Is it edible? We could get rid of it that way.
Well, actually, I know it's not edible.
Oh.
In fact, that's the problem. It's like if you touch it, it gets all like irritating. It's got that sort of that. So nobody can eat it, humans or animals. And that's part of the problem. It's not feeding anybody, including the animals and the wildlife, and then it chokes out the native plants. So they don't want it. And we're going to find out more about it. Where did it come from, and how do we deal with it? That's next. CFAX 1070 Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season, big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. On the roads, no crashes or accidents at this time. We don't have any volume delays out of the West Shore as of yet. We do have a one-sail wait at BC Ferries. 7 o'clock is full. 8 o'clock is your next vessel from Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen with vehicle deck space left. For the weather, it's going to cloud over the course of today. There is a chance of showers. There's a small chance this afternoon, and that chance of showers carries on into the evening and overnight as well. Tomorrow, it starts to clear up, but we get some wind. Then Thursday, it clouds over again, and we're back to some rain maybe by later in the day Thursday. And then there's a chance of showers taking us right through the long weekend.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Time to learn more about an invasive species that is becoming a problem around the Capital Regional District. It's called egg leaf spurge. It's kind of hard not to say the name like you're talking about a comic book villain. And let's find out more about it. We got Hunter Jarrett on the line. He's an ecological restoration consultant based in Nanaimo. In fact, he's known online as the invasive species guy. Well, hello. How are you?
Good morning, Ryan. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good this morning.
So you talk about all this stuff online, eh?
Yes. Invasive species are my thing. That's often a very big component of doing restoration work. So everything from English ivy to Scotch broom to, egg leaf spurge now.
Oh, cool. So if you want to find out more, check out the invasive species guy. But also, let's talk about it right now. So first off, the name, egg leaf spurge, just sounds evil. What's with this thing?
Yeah, it does contain a milky sap, that's toxic to humans and livestock. So it is serious in that regard. But the name comes from the shape of the leaves. Which are egg shaped. So
gotcha. So that's the egg leaf part of it. What does the spurge part of it mean?
Yeah, spurge is just kind of it's the type of plant.
Okay.
There are many different types of spurges, and this is a very specific one. So there are spurges that are not invasive, but this is Euphorbia oblongata. So that is the species name. So it's a very, very specific one that we're talking about.
And you mentioned that it's got the milky white kind of liquid inside of it, which is irritating to both people and animals, so nobody eats it. And the other thing that makes it stand out is it has bright yellow flowers.
Yes. Yeah. So it's got these very interesting flowers. So it's they actually are comprised of small male flowers, and then they have one small female flower. And they have these yellow bracts at their base and a whorl of, yellowish green leaves. And that's kind of, that is the flower structure, which is very interesting.
Hunter, where do we usually find it growing?
Right now, we're seeing it a lot on private land. So properties, it's kind of been, introduced to people's properties, and that's where it's starting to become an issue.
When you mean introduced, are people actually planting this by mistake?
Yeah, it's actually often sold as an ornamental plant. And that is a classic tale for many invasive species and how they arrive in people's gardens.
When does it cross over from being an ornamental plant that's just sort of in somebody's garden to an invasive species? Do they start to spread? Or how do you start getting that name, invasive species, and kind of become that problem?
Yeah, so invasive species are non-native species that have negative impacts associated with them, whether that be societally, environmentally, economically, and often it's kind of fits many of these different categories. And once these impacts are kind of noted and observed and often studied and researched, that's when things start to become listed as invasive. So it is a term that is often just thrown around, but we're talking about very specific lists of species, ones that the province tracks, for example, and organizations in the Invasive Species Network in the province as well.
And this one's crossed over to that. And why is this one such a problem? Talk us through the issue with this one spreading.
Yeah, so like many invasive species, it's not suitable for wildlife, so it's actually inedible to wildlife, reduces livestock forage. it inhibits the growth of nearby plants. Many invasive plants do this. So where you have an infestation underneath, there's nothing growing anymore. And yeah, we talked about the sap already. And they create monocultures that outcompete native plants. And diversity is really important to have on your landscape. And when you have monocultures, that puts you at risk for a lot of things. For example, extreme weather. You are less able to buffer the impacts of that if you only have one thing growing there. So diversity of species is really important.
All right. So the egg leaf spurge, it's starting to spread around and become a problem in Greater Victoria. Probably started as an ornamental plant in gardens, but it's becoming an issue. So what do we do about it? What's happening? Because I guess we're trying to deal with it. What's happening now?
Yeah, so right now it has a really unique status in the province. It's in the EDRR status. So that means early detection, rapid response. So where we know about it, because it has such a limited distribution in the province, our goal is still eradication. But we have to know where it's growing in order for us to be able to treat it and manage it. And so people are encouraged to report it where you see it. So there's actually a provincial app that we have called the Report Invasives BC app. You can kind of snap a photo. They'll ask you to provide a general size of the infestation. You can add any extra comments. Maybe it's growing in unique spots. And then these reports go straight to the province. And at that point, we can take action.
You dispatch the spurge busters.
Exactly. We still have a chance at controlling it and eradicating it. And if we allow it to continue to spread kind of under the radar, then it will go down to, a different management category. And, we have all these different categories, and it gets further and further away from eradication. So you might have heard of shining geranium. That used to be an EDRR species, and now it has spread so far that is now in the regional containment / control category. So it's a little bit too far gone at this point.
Right. So trying to keep this one from getting that far. It's called the egg leaf spurge. There's, as you just heard, a chance to report it if you see it, and trying to take care of it before it becomes an even bigger problem. We're talking to Hunter Jarrett. He's an ecological restoration consultant based in Nanaimo, but you can also find him online as the Invasive Species Guy. Thank you so much for talking us through this one. Interesting to learn about it. I haven't seen it. I'll be watching for it now, or at least I haven't noticed it, but I'll try to pay attention to see if I notice it now, especially in my own garden. So thank you so much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
All right. Egg leaf spurge. Be on the lookout. We'll take a break. 6:30 News is next.
Developing political story, a big doozy.
Vashi Capellos.
What started as a dull day as anything but
The top newsmakers.
Your go-to political debrief. Daily.
what is really going on.
The breaking news.
Just moments ago.
And the entertaining analysis and debate to follow.
I don't think you can sugarcoat it. It's an issue.
It's not true, guys. Yeah.
Vashi Capellos.
There is a greater plan here.
Vashi Capellos. Weekdays 9 a.m. to 11.
Bigger picture politically, which
is on CFAX 1070. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning, 6:33 on Tuesday, May 12th. A little late for the news, so let's get right over to Lisa Best. What's going on, Lisa?
Thank you. Good morning. Health experts say it's unclear at this point whether people testing people may have exposed to hantavirus don't have symptoms would actually be useful to do it now.
BC's provincial health officer says public health officials around the world are discussing the issue. This as passengers from a hantavirus-stricken cruise ship return to their home countries. Dr. Bonnie Henry says tests for some viruses aren't effective before patients develop symptoms, but she says if any of the 10 people in Canada who may have been exposed to the virus develop symptoms, health officials are ready to test and treat them. Hantavirus scientist Bryce Warner says a negative test in someone without symptoms doesn't necessarily mean they don't have the virus. Aaron Sousa, The Canadian Press.
More than a dozen Americans who were passengers on board that ship during the outbreak are in quarantine in Nebraska and Atlanta. One person testing positive, another developing symptoms, but the majority who are in quarantine don't have any symptoms as of yet. One of the passengers, Jake Rosemarin, told ABC that he plans to stay in quarantine in Nebraska for the entire incubation period. He says everyone's in good spirits.
He's holding up pretty well. I mean, I was relieved to get off the ship and have a plan in place, and they're treating us really, really well here. So I can't ask for anything more than that.
4 people also quarantine here on Vancouver Island. Canada's artificial intelligence minister says the federal government is willing to accept financial risk to remain competitive in AI development. Evan Solomon and TELUS yesterday announcing plans for 3 AI data centers in BC, including 2 in Vancouver, 1 in Kamloops. Outgoing TELUS chief Darren Entwistle says the factories will be cutting edge and most sustainable.
Our AI data centers will utilize advanced cooling and waste heat recovery to achieve efficiency that is 3 times better than industry global standards.
Ottawa has committed $2 billion over a 5-year period to support large-scale Canadian data center projects. Next door in Wild Rose Country, the threat of Alberta separating was discussed at a pro-Canada event last night featuring former Alberta Premier Jason Kenney and Calgary Liberal MP Corey Hogan. Kenney is one of the few Conservatives who've been targeting the separatists over the past year. He expects the federal Conservatives will eventually get involved and says current leader Pierre Poilievre needs to take on the role that Jean Charest played during the Quebec referendum in 1985.
He will find his voice on that. He grew up in Alberta. He represents an Alberta riding. I don't think he wants to get up, and this is the challenge, he doesn't want to get up every day. Like, he's the leader of the opposition to the government of Canada. That's his political and constitutional job. But if this thing goes forward, I fully expect him to take a leadership role.
Corey Hogan said many people may be waiting for the plebiscite to clear its legal hurdles before getting involved. An MP is calling on Canadians, all of us, to fill out the census for the good of their community. Completing it is required by law, but some have taken to social media to express their opposition over the questions. Several have posted pictures of ripped-up forms and envelopes marked return to sender, sometimes with angry messages to the Prime Minister. Liberal MP Mark Garriston posted a video on social media saying the census is not a personal data grab by the Prime Minister. He says instead it makes informed decisions about the number of schools a community needs, where hospital and clinics need to be built, and how much federal funding a municipality should receive as some of the examples. That's your news to 6:37. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking, how concerned are you about hantavirus? 64% say not at all. A quarter say somewhat, and 11% are very concerned. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com. Also in the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 6:38.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning. It's going to cloud over today, and we'll eventually get to a chance of showers. But right now, some sunny breaks as we get this Tuesday started. Over to CFAX 1070's sports. We'll start in the NHL, where the visiting Colorado Avalanche had a 5-2 victory over the Minnesota Wild yesterday, and with that, they take a 3-1 lead in the second-round best-of-7 NHL playoff series. And then tonight, 2 games, one at the Bell Centre in Montreal, where the Canadiens will try to take a 3-1 lead in their second-round best-of-7 series against the Buffalo Sabres. They're heading into it with a 2-1 lead. Then the Vegas Golden Knights and the Anaheim Ducks will play in the other matchup tonight. In baseball, Toronto Blue Jays with kind of a mixed bag. On the bad side, they lost 8-5 to the Tampa Bay Rays yesterday. But on the plus side, pitcher Kevin Gausman reached a 2,000 strikeout milestone. And Gausman says that he's honored to reach this career milestone.
My career has been ups and downs and been very different, and not all sunshine and rainbows. So, I take those things with, very seriously, and I'm honored by it for sure.
Seattle Mariners with a 3-1 win over Houston as well. And in local baseball, they haven't started their season yet, but the Victoria Harper Cats announcing that pitcher Shea Lake will return for a third season. The Harper Cats will open their season May 29th on the road, and then June 2nd, the first home game against the Edmonton Riverhawks. Again, that's June 2nd for that first home match. And then for the basketball, Canadian Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with 35 points and 8 assists as the visiting Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Los Angeles Lakers 115-110. And with that, they do sweep their best-of-7 Western Conference semifinal series. That is your Sports 2640. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather, 6:41 here on Tuesday morning. A little paving work just wrapping up on Douglas near Garbali. That did have a few obstructions, but it should be, at least the schedule was for that work to end. Then we will, a little later, have the paving work on Blanchard causing obstructions northbound from Bay to Hillside. That stretch there, it's going to be down to one lane only heading northbound. Southbound should be fine, but that's going to be a factor again today and all this week. And it really did slow traffic trying to get out of town northbound yesterday, since it kind of spilled traffic onto some of the side routes as well. We were hearing from our listeners that there was quite a backup because of all this. And then for the weather, it's going to be an increasingly cloudy day with a small chance of showers by this afternoon, slightly greater chance of showers overnight. No big rain event expected, more just, scattered shower activity around the region for this afternoon and overnight. It clears up tomorrow, but gets windy, and then Thursday it clouds over again and maybe gets rainy by the evening, and then we could see a good chance of showers through the Victoria Day long weekend ahead of us. On the markets, opening bells just ringing for North American stock markets. So let's take a look at how things closed off yesterday. Gains in the basic materials sector lifted Canada's main stock index higher to kick off the trading week. Toronto's S&P TSX Composite Index rose 61 points to close at 34,138. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 95 points to 49,704. The Canadian dollar trading overseas this morning at 72.97 cents U.S., which is down a little bit from yesterday's close.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
And thanks for joining us in the conversation at 7:10:10, talking about some of the things we're talking about on the show today. And this texture here on the census, because it is the census deadline day.
I like how you say it like it's a swear word.
No, actually, I like the census.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo. I get it.
That's not weird. I don't mind it either, but I'm just kind of glad I didn't get the long form.
Yeah, that's true. It does sound like that is a commitment, and we're hearing that from our listeners this morning.
Settle in.
No, I had this weird... So when I was 19, 20, I was in England. I had a few months where I was staying with family in England, and they were doing their census in the UK. Huh. And I got to be documented because on their census day, I happened to be staying there. So they were like, hey, look,
special.
You're part of this little history here. You're marked down as somebody who was in the UK in this house at this time on this date. And I remember thinking that was kind of neat. I don't know.
Well, absolutely.
So that was my...
No, that's a good story. And I understand at 19, when you're in a foreign country and you get to be...
I'm counted.
Part of... Well, yeah, I can see that being something that's a bit of a head experience and making it cool. The results are cool, but the process is,
I get it.
Something that we buck at.
Not everybody likes filling out paperwork. And this texter at 7:10:10 says...
Sharing information.
Yeah, this texter says, good morning, Ryan and Lisa. We did the long-form census for years because our house was on a list of homes that would receive it instead of a random draw, which is kind of how it is now.
Correct.
1 year, I left out 2 or 3 of the questions, and within a week, somebody came knocking on my door.
Really?
And said that I was required to fill out all the survey questions. So I asked this person, what if I gave the wrong information to the questions? And they replied, as long as I filled out all the questions, the census officials were happy. That's from Guy.
Interesting. Good suggestion, Kyle.
Yeah. And then...
Do they, when they show up at your door, are they like the Men in Black?
Yeah, really. And then this texter says, I guess you could... thanks for the reminder to do the census. I got the short form. Woohoo!
Oh, it's easy.
Have a great day.
It's a cakewalk.
And then the other...
I felt kind of ripped off a little bit, too. I was that's it?
Oh, you got the short?
I actually thought I had said something or done something wrong. Usually when we get these kind of questions, you and I both know this, as soon as we say we're media, thanks very much for your time.
Well, we're not allowed to take surveys usually. But,
well, that's it, right? And we don't. It's actually legal for us to. But when it comes to, the books and figuring out what the ratings are, however, it's just a general survey you could do. But even at the general survey, usually by the third or fourth question, does anyone in your household work for blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
We got media, we're out. And it's like, I want to answer questions about how much pasta I eat during the course of the week.
I actually wanted to talk about that.
Right? So, we're usually short form.
Real quick, though. So that's the census. I have another text about the other topic we've been talking about, and I got to read it just because it's pretty good. Okay. So there's a new invasive species to watch out for. It's this kind of low-lying flowering plant. It's got these little yellow flowers. It's got these little egg-shaped leaves.
This is about 2 feet tall, maybe?
I'm not sure exactly, but it's it's called the egg leaf spurge.
Right, goes well with bacon.
And this texter says, I guess you could say it is wise to have the urge to purge the spurge as soon as possible.
Wow.
Texter, I just want to thank you for that. That made my day. Much appreciated.
Well, yeah, that's a little impressive.
Love it.
Okay, you can stick around.
All right, 6:46. It's time for the headlines. Here's Lisa.
I can't make a rhyme with this, but anyways, I'll try. Amazon rapidly opening store-sized delivery hubs in dozens of U.S. and foreign cities, including Canada, to fill customers' most urgent product needs in 30 minutes or less. The e-commerce titan's ultra-fast Amazon Now service first launched in India last June. Amazon says it has also made available in 5 other countries these warehouses, expanding throughout North America. The mini warehouses are devoted to Amazon Now stock about 3,500 products under the roof. The items include fresh produce, beer, diapers, non-prescription meds, cleaning supplies, electronics, even personal care items, right down to your shampoo. Offering uber-fast deliveries is the latest chapter to the e-commerce titan's relentless pursuit of speed and having a gray van on every corner. The company's revolutionized online shopping, of course, after it introduced 2-day shopping. That was back in 2005, 21 years ago. David Attenborough, the world's most famous wildlife presenter, and if you're wondering why you're seeing all those memes online, it's because he's celebrating 100 years on Friday. The BBC hosting a party at the Royal Albert Hall in the heart of London, and the cinemas are playing his nature films. Despite the accolades, Attenborough prefers the animals to be the stars. Over 70 years, his documentaries have brought the wonders of nature into homes worldwide. His work has educated us on evolution, animal behavior, and, of course, biodiversity, and most recently, all the environmental threats that we are dealing with. And the red carpet rolling out at the 79th Cannes Film Festival in South France. The French Riviera Festival begins today. It includes 12 days of nonstop world premieres before culminating on the 23rd with the presentation of the Palme d'Or. That's your news to 648.
In the news this week, Lisa, you've been telling us about how at City Hall this week, Victoria City Council will be discussing the idea of cooling rental units, as in restricting landlords from prohibiting cooling equipment as one option, or maybe even requiring rental units have some sort of cooling equipment. This is all in the aftermath of the heat dome a few years ago that caused a lot of deaths, and there's still discussion about how we, if you're a renter, sometimes have restrictions on what you can do. So let's talk to Victoria City Councillor Matt Dell about this. What are they trying to accomplish here, and how would it work? It's still in discussion phase, but we'll get some of the details right after traffic and weather.
The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe.
Everyone wants to know about real estate. Is the market going up or down? Time to buy or sell? How can government programs and policies affect you? Hear from local experts on topics like appraisal, inspection, investment, and others on how to maximize your real estate sale.
Providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe. Saturdays at noon on CFAX 1070.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Thrifty Foods would like to thank everybody who helped raise over $45,000 to support the new BC Cancer Centre in Nanaimo by purchasing specially marked pots at Island Grocers. To the traffic and weather, so far things are pretty calm out there on the roads. No major backups, no crashes or accidents. We will have that paving work again on Blanchard northbound from Bay to Hillside, which yesterday was causing quite a few slowdowns getting north out of town. So we'll see how that shapes up again today. One sail wait at BC Ferry, Swartz Bay to Swassen. 7 o'clock sailing is full, but it's just about to leave. The 8 is next, and there's lots of room left on it for vehicles. And in the weather forecast, well, we got a few patches of sunny sky ahead right now, but that's eventually going to turn to clouds as the day goes on. Highs to hit about 21 degrees today, with a chance of showers by later this afternoon and overnight. Tomorrow it clears up, gets a bit breezy, and then it clouds over again Thursday, and then we might get into some rain by Thursday night, and maybe through the long weekend we got a chance of showers.
Let's get started. Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Victoria City Councillor Matt Dell is here. Good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. I am great. Thank you for having me on.
Great to get you on the program because you and a few other councillors are taking an idea to get discussed this week. You're looking at following New Westminster's lead in establishing a bylaw that aims to protect tenants, or renters, from heat sickness, like what we saw in the deadly 2021 heat dome. So this is looking into, I guess, renters specifically and how they can cool their units, because I gather sometimes it's a little more difficult. If you own your own place, you can do whatever you want with cooling systems, but renters sometimes face restrictions, which is what you're trying to unravel, I suppose. So talk about what you're looking at here.
Yeah, that's right. So, for context, Ryan, in the heat dome, 670 British Columbians died, including about 18 in the CRD. And I think that's got to stop and reflect on that number. That was a significant amount of people that died simply because of a couple of days of heat. And we know that those type of heat domes are going to be coming in more often. And so we know these type of deaths will be happening. And we just can't let that happen. So I think all municipalities in the province have been looking at what can we do to make sure people aren't overheating in their own homes. And New Westminster was the first municipality in British Columbia who said, you know what, we're going to have a bylaw that just says rental homes must be below 26 degrees on a hot summer day. And so what we're doing is asking Victoria, our staff, to look into a similar bylaw and report back on how it would work, what are some of the nuances and complexities of that. And I just think that's an important thing to do to help kind of plan for a safer future for the city.
For New Westminster, how did they do it? Like, they say you can't have it go hotter than this. So does that mean that it is required to have cooling units installed? Or what does it actually mean for I guess, a landlord in New Westminster?
Yeah, so New Westminster said you cannot have there must be a room in a building or in an apartment that's below 26 degrees at all times. So yeah, that means at least one room must have an air conditioner, a heat pump, be hooked up to a HVAC system. So let's say there is a heat wave and temperatures here get to 100 degrees Fahrenheit and people are really hot. At least somewhere in the building will be 26 degrees, because that's what health experts say is the maximum where the human body essentially starts to have issues above 26 degrees. So in New West, all buildings will be required to have one room that are below 26 degrees.
But it could be like a big common area. It doesn't have to be one room in each unit.
So this is part of the discussion, Ryan. Yeah. So some folks say, hey, it just needs to be one room in the building, like a common room or a hallway, where others are saying, no, it needs to be one in each unit, like each apartment building. So in your unit, let's say it's a 2-bedroom condo, one of the bedrooms or the kitchen or whatever has to be 26 degrees. And that's something that I think council will discuss. Obviously, requiring every single unit to have a room of 26 degrees will be more expensive than having a hallway. The issue is that a lot of the folks who passed away were quite old and mobility was a challenge. So, in the middle of the night, someone's apartment is heating up. Is someone going from the 4th floor, a senior with mobility issues, going to go down to the common room in the middle of the night? I would say probably not. So I think what most folks are asking for is saying, no, one room in every unit has to be 26 degrees. But I think we'll look at both, because obviously costs are an issue too. Building owners, this could be an expense for them. And I think maybe there's a transition period where you do one and then the other. But this is all what we're asking staff to look into and report back to us.
There's a texter here at 71010 who says, if tenants want air conditioning, let them get their own, which actually is an interesting point, because that's another thing you might be exploring. I don't know if you are, but is that a thing to explore as well? Is not necessarily making the landlords do it, but at least not prohibiting the tenants from doing it themselves?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Actually, a lot of rental buildings, or some anyway, Ryan, tenants are prohibited from having air conditioners. So you're not allowed to have them in your window. And so that's also part of the motion of, I think, part of the movement is saying, hey, landlords can't prohibit you from having an air conditioner. Because, of course, folks can go out and buy a $500 air conditioner for themselves. But some buildings just say, no, you're not allowed to do that. Just like, you're not allowed to have a Christmas tree up. You're not allowed to hang your laundry on your balcony. And so we're asking staff to look into essentially having a prohibition against prohibiting air conditioners. Because anyway, that will also be part of the motion. I mean, I think I would say to you, Ryan, and to the listeners is, I think we understand that units should have heating. We don't want people freezing in the wintertime. So, why is it that we would require heating? But when people are overheating, we wouldn't want a similar system to make sure they're not getting too hot. So I think there's just a movement to go, hey, we should require both systems so people are safe and comfortable in their own homes.
Now, is it possible in all of this, though, that this creates a big financial burden for the landlords of some of these buildings that now have to take this on? Is there any thought of what happens there?
Of course, that's a huge consideration. And I think that's why we're asking staff to start looking into this. And I think looking into it will mean talking to those landlords to go, hey, what are you doing already? How can we work with you on this? Is there an incentive program we can create? So Victoria already has an incentive program that we passed about 2 years ago that creates tax exemptions for landlords who are converting their their buildings from natural gas or oil to heat pumps. So one option might be incentives to help offer tax relief to this, to help offer grants to this. But at the end of the day, we need to figure something out because people's lives are on the line, and I think the safety of our residents is the most important thing. So I'd hope that landlords will be coming forward and we can work with some of these rental building owners. I know a lot of them care about this and they want to do it anyway. They don't want their tenants passing away in the next heat dome, and it creates liabilities for them as well. So that's why we're just saying, let's start working on this, and hopefully Victoria can be a leader in what a good bylaw looks like.
Well, that is going to be discussed at Victoria City Council during their meetings on Thursday. And Councillor Matt Dell is on the line right now. Thank you so much for talking about the issue with us here today.
Okay, Ryan, thanks for having me, and I appreciate you waking me up so early. It's a good start to the day.
No worries. I'm glad you're here on a beautiful Tuesday morning. We'll take a quick break. The 7 o'clock news is next with Lisa Best.
CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hello, good morning. It's 7:01 on Tuesday, May the 12th. Census deadline day. We're looking at a cloudy day eventually, but we got some sunny breaks to start, and then a chance of showers by later this afternoon or overnight. Full forecast to come. But right now, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
4 more Canadians isolating here on Vancouver Island after potential contact with hantavirus. As that number slowly grows from people off that cruise ship, health officials in BC and around the world continue to stress the risk to the public remains low.
We are all hoping that the 4 people who are here with us will remain well through this incubation period.
They will quarantine for 21 days and be monitored for 42, the longest known incubation period for the virus, a rare rodent-borne pathogen that can cause serious illness in humans. The Public Health Agency of Canada says an individual in Quebec is no longer self-isolating as they are not considered a high-risk contact. In Ontario, a 3rd person is now now in self-isolation in Peel region. Heather Wright, CTV News.
Experts say it's not clear whether it's useful to test people who may have been exposed but don't have any symptoms. University of Saskatchewan hantavirus scientist Bryce Warner says a negative test in someone without symptoms wouldn't necessarily mean they don't have hantavirus, because the incubation period can actually be several weeks, hence the reason why people are asymptomatic for up to 3 weeks. There's no indication yet on when gas prices may climb again after the latest attempt at a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran fell apart. CTV's Joy Melbourne has some of the latest reaction from the U.S. president.
After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it.
The U.S. and Iran are at an impasse, with traffic in the Strait of Hormuz effectively at a standstill.
They know how I feel. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
Trump threatened to destroy Iran if it didn't open up that critical shipping route. They didn't, and he hasn't. As for the shaky ceasefire,
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support.
As for gas in our region, currently anywhere from 208, that would be Costco, down slightly at some stations from yesterday's previous high of 220. A couple stations listing 211, 215. So if you need gas, you might want to fill up today. Of course, diesel a bit higher. The European Union has imposed sanctions on 16 officials accused of helping Russia abduct tens of thousands of Ukrainian children and force many of them to change their identities or be put up for adoption. The EU is hosting a meeting on the issue in Brussels jointly with Canada in order to increase diplomatic pressure on Russia. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says Canada supports those holding those responsible to account.
The coalition for the return of Ukrainian children has been useful because it has garnered international attention on an issue that Russia wants the world to forget.
Since March of 2023, Russia's president and senior Russian officials have been subjected to the International Criminal Court arrest warrant on charges of unlawfully deporting and transferring children numbering up to 20,000. A cautionary tale from the roads east of us in Ottawa. If you just flipped your tires from winter to summer, please say during that change, it's common to get a call for wheels flying off moving vehicles. Constable Michael Fathy says the latest collision happened Friday in that province, smashing a windshield of an oncoming vehicle and injuring the driver. He says that drivers need to have their lug nuts retorqued 100 kilometers after that seasonal swap.
It's very dangerous, obviously, and people have been killed by flying tires, obviously, so it is incumbent on drivers to go and get those tires retorqued.
If you did recently swap your tires, remember retorquing is typically a free service at local garages. That's your news to 7:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning, we're asking, are you concerned about hantavirus? 11% say yes, very. 25% say somewhat. And the majority, 64%, say not at all. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best news time, 7:07.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning. It's going to cloud over today. A chance of showers on the way by later this afternoon or into the evening. Starting off dry, though. Get you the full forecast in just a moment. But right now, over to the sports. Kevin Gausman earned his 2,000th career strikeout last night, but it also happened during the Toronto Blue Jays' loss to the Tampa Bay Rays 8-5. But hey, you take your silver linings. Gausman says he is honored to reach this career plateau.
Definitely never thought I would get here, and to be in the same sentence as the guys that are currently, all guys I consider great pitchers. for me is very humbling and, very cool.
Gausman, now 90th on the all-time strikeout list. Elsewhere in baseball, we've got the Victoria Harbor Cats announcing that pitcher Shea Lake will return for a third season. The Harbor Cats begin their season May 29th on the road versus the Portland Pickles. Oh, and back to the majors for a second. Seattle Mariners with a win over Houston 3-1 yesterday. In NHL playoff action, Parker Kelly's goal at 11:32 of the third period snapped a 2-all tie and lifted the visiting Colorado Avalanche to an eventual 5-2 victory over the Minnesota Wild last night. So they take a 3-1 series lead in their second round best-of-7 NHL playoff series. And in the NBA playoffs, Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 35 points, 8 assists, as his Oklahoma City Thunder edged Los Angeles 115-110 to sweep their best-of-7 Western Conference semifinal series. That's your Sports 2708. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. It's 9 minutes after 7. Let's see how the Tuesday morning commute is shaping up. We're starting to see those volume delays out of the West Shore, heading towards Victoria, downtown Victoria, or the just core area. It seems fairly typical so far, but let me know if you see otherwise at 7:10:10. Paving work again on Blanchard, northbound Bay to Hillside. It is restricting the northbound to just one single lane instead of the usual 3, so things are a little bottlenecked there because of this paving work northbound, and we will likely see that slow traffic out of town northbound today. For BC Ferries, no sailing rates right now, and for the weather, let's talk more about this. Increasing clouds over the day, chance of showers by this afternoon, highs topping out around 21 degrees, cooler by the water per usual. Tonight, chance of showers increases a little bit. We'll start to see some wind off the water, lows down to 11 degrees, and then tomorrow it clears up. So whatever rain we do have looks like it's isolated to this afternoon and overnight, and then it's going to clear up on Wednesday, but it will get windy on Wednesday, so a bit blustery, highs of 18 degrees. We see the clouds come back Thursday with periods of rain back Thursday night. Then after that, it kind of sticks around as a chance of showers right through the long weekend. Not necessarily rainy all the way through, but just a chance we may see showers here and there through the long weekend. Right now, it's 9 degrees. Let's take a look at the markets. How are things going as we get into the day? Things are down. S&P TSX down 99 points to 34,039. The Dow in New York is down 317 to 49,387. The Canadian dollar at 72.9 cents U.S., which is down a little bit from yesterday's close. And the crude oil, that barrel of oil, is up $3.66. So it's spiking a bit and has crossed the $100 a barrel line again at $101.73 U.S.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Lots of conversation happening around the heating in rental buildings chat we just had a few moments. I said heating. Cooling is the word I meant to say.
That's okay.
So this is the situation. City Council this week will be discussing this motion to ask staff to explore the issue. So it's not like they're doing it, but councillors would like staff to look into how to require rental buildings to be cool during something like a heat dome. With New Westminster recently doing this, they set this limit of 26 degrees is how hot you're allowed to at least have one room. Anything beyond that, you got to have a room that's that or cooler.
Yeah, you have to have a room that you can basically escape to is what they're looking for.
Either your own unit or maybe there's a big common room. That's how New Westminster did it.
Right.
So what Victoria City councillors, a couple of them would like to see is Victoria explore options for how do we do something like that here. Do we do a thing where we require the landlords to provide such a space that'll stay below 26 degrees regardless of the heat? Or do we just allow renters themselves permission to put their own air conditioning into their units? Those are what are being explored. And they don't have all the answers yet. They just want to look into it. Well, this is a lot of our texters commenting on one particular thing, and that is the electrical capacity in these buildings. This texter at 71010 says, "Hey, Ryan and Lisa, how many of our old rental apartment buildings would need to do an electrical upgrade to bring AC to those old buildings, as well as the cost of installing heat pumps to each apartment unit? Remember that the owner of the apartment building can't increase the rent versus a condo, which can charge a one-time assessment to each unit according to the unit's size. Retrofitting is very expensive. Lots of rentals haven't even upgraded their old windows to thermal windows." That's from Mary.
That's a lot to unpack right there. But basically, I know that my building would probably die if we all did it at once. I mean, my building was built the year Titanic sank. So, no, it's not going to happen. The thing about some of the older buildings, and if you are living in that kind of building, you know it, they're asbestos lined. When I say asbestos, some people trigger. Asbestos is actually one of the best insulators you can get. It's when it becomes airborne that it becomes a carcinogen. But if it is sealed in the walls, it will protect you, and it's really, really good at holding in heat and blocking out heat as well. So some older units, I know in my building, it would not take it. It would not take the electricity strain.
And then you're faced with a big bill to upgrade the electrical in the building. So,
right, and it's about need. It's for the amount, and I understand the heat dome, and we don't want to see it go through anything like that, but it's a need. Do we all need to have window units? Do we all need to have, I know personally I don't, but I know my neighbor does because they're south-facing, the way they're located, so they have a window air conditioner to cool off the room, which is enough to do it. Most window air conditioners are only powerful enough to cool off that room, but I think that's what Matt Dell's going at.
That would be the idea.
To have one room you can go to escape the heat.
Another texter at 71010 says, "I own a condo, and in our building, we are not permitted the window-style air conditioner, which would be the go-to choice for the low cost.
Right.
Window air conditioners can damage window frames, sills, and building exteriors if not installed correctly. I can see why landlords would be worried about damage."
Yeah. You can also get the ones that sit in the room and just have the vent that goes out the window. You can get them inside the room.
Texter at 71010 says, "I bought my own air conditioner and it blew the breaker." Yeah, and I think that's the issue people are bringing up.
What would happen, yeah.
Another texter says, "Some buildings can't take the additional power load for the AC." This texter says, "Some buildings, specifically affordable older buildings, can't handle the electrical load of AC units in each unit." That's it. Yeah, common theme here. People are bringing up the fact that the electrical capacity is just not there. This texter at 71010 says, "Excellent idea for cooling and heating to save lives. However, let's see, the manning in the fire department, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it might have been one of those autocorrect things. But the main point, excellent idea for cooling and heating to save lives." So somebody who's just giving a thumbs up to that idea. Another texter says, "BC Hydro had a great program last year. Perhaps reinstating it might be of interest to the mayor and council." Oh, yeah, because they had a rebate program of some kind for heat pumps. Yeah, I think so.
That doesn't work for every rental. When you get into rentals, it gets tricky, even with condos, because there's certain things they'll allow. Now, when it comes to the safety of the person inside, well, then that sort of changes things, and I think that's what City Council's looking at. City Council's trying to get ahead of the ball to keep people safe. You know, if you can't protect your neighbor, if you've got nowhere to go, like they're saying, if we have a heat wave, which we probably will invariably this year, go to the mall or go here or there. Well, older people don't necessarily have the means to do that or the physicality to do that. So if you're in your own place, how do you stay cool? And I think that's what City Hall is really going at. People who can go somewhere and escape the heat, you got it covered. But still, within your own place, you want somewhere to go. In the case of a heat dome, God forbid it happens again.
That's what the Victoria City councillors will discuss on Thursday. And thank you so much for weighing in here. At 7:17, here are the rest of the headlines with Lisa.
Search and rescue teams in Lions Bay, north of Vancouver, say its members have responded to 5 calls for help in the past week, attributing the incidents of hikers wearing improper footwear and not carrying enough supplies, including water. 2 of the rescues took place in the hiking route to West Lion, 2 at Tunnel Bluffs and 1 Mount Harvey. Search manager Maria Masser says transition season is the most dangerous time of the year when it feels like summer in the city, but then the alpine regions, of course, can be quite wintry still. Lions Bay Search and Rescue recommends that hikers check trail conditions ahead of time and use resources like Adventure Smart to plan ahead. The company that operates online learning system Canvas has struck a deal with hackers to delete their stolen item. The platform was the subject of a cyber attack that created chaos for students, including several Canadian institutions. Canvas parent company Infrastructure has not provided any details on the agreement, including whether it involved a payment. A hacking group called Shiny Hunters claimed responsibility for last week's breach, threatening to leak data involving nearly 9,000 schools worldwide, including some in BC. 2 South Florida police officers are suing 2 actors, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, claiming their recent action thriller, The Rip, is a little too real. The officers argue the film uses too many real-life details in its fictionalized narrative and harms their reputations. They say the movie gave friends, family members, and colleagues a mistaken impression that they committed criminal acts that appear in the film. An attorney for Artist Equity responded that the film did not purport the true story of the 2016 case, nor portray real people, which had been stated as a disclaimer in the film's credit. Nonetheless, they're suing them, so we'll let you know what happens next. That's your news to 7:19.
So a little while ago on the show, we explored the fact that there's this thing called Makerspace or Makerspace in Victoria now, which is sort of like a shared cooperative workshop. So like if you don't have space in your own place for all of the tools to do woodworking, or I think they even got 3D printers and things. They just got a lot of stuff if you wanted to go to a collective space and be creative or work with your hands or make all this stuff. Well, at this space, there is going to be a kind of learning experience for kids to do with woodworking. It has the name Sloyd Experience Canada, and we're going to learn about this next. It's 7:22. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Fairly typical looking West Shore commute out of the West Shore into downtown Victoria or the core area. If you see otherwise, text me at 71010. But right now, it is I think fairly typical conditions if you are going from, say, the Langford Costco area. It's about a 40-minute drive into downtown Victoria, which is, not so bad. It can certainly get worse. For the paving work on Blanchard, that's on again from Bay to Hillside. They've restricted all 3 lanes down into 1 lane as they do the paving, so that's making things a little slow there. For BC Ferries, Swartz Bay to Swanson, 7 o'clock sailing is underway, and now it's the 8 as your next vessel to the mainland out of Swartz Bay, and there's lots of room left there for vehicles as well as just all forms of passengers. The weather forecast turns cloudy as we get into the day, and eventually will it be into a chance of showers this afternoon and overnight tonight.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Well, a new shared creative space in Victoria is going to host a woodworking for kids event called Sloyd Experience Canada. They teach a method aimed at helping youth refine their motor skills and be creative. And here to talk more about this education method out of Scandinavia, we've got Sloyd founder Dylan Warnberg on the line to talk more about it all. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Now, first, my very first question, am I pronouncing this right? Sloyd?
That's correct. Sloyd Experience.
And what is that? What does that mean?
Well, Sloyd, it's a Scandinavian term, and Sloyd in its root term refers to skill or craft, and the Sloyd Experience is a educational philosophy that uses woodworking as a vehicle for character development and focus and problem solving and all the things that kids need to learn these days.
Oh, cool. So there's a lot to unpack out of that one term.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's rewind for a little bit here and talk about yourself and this program and how it came about. Talk us through all this, and I guess introduce yourself. What's your relationship to this program and also to where you're going to be doing it? There's this makerspace, shared space that we can talk about.
Yeah. Thanks for asking, Ryan. First and foremost, I'm a father of 3 young boys, 3, 5, and 8. And when I learned about Sloyd Experience through Instagram, of all places, I felt it in my chest. I was, struck by lightning, and I was so drawn to it. And I just knew it was one of those opportunities that I needed to pursue intuitively. And so that was 18 months ago, and I took a trip to Colorado back in February, traveled to the Sloyd Experience headquarters. Luke and Allison have created a wonderful foundation there, and I spent a week in their classroom, spent time learning from them, and I came home so charged up and want to just bring this program to the Greater Victoria region. And to flip to the Makespace, I'm on the board of directors there, so I've been heavily involved and engaged in that space. And as a carpenter myself, I helped build that space out, and it's a perfect fit for us to pilot the Sloyd Experience program in part of Victoria's core.
And it's all coming together with this event on Friday, and we'll get to that in just a second. But let's just remind people where that Makespace is, like the physical spot where I guess it's, like a shared space where people can join up and use these tools in this area to be creative, like what you're talking about. Where is it?
Yeah, so it's just across from Crystal Pool on Quadra there. It's in the ground level of the Bluebird storage building. So there's a coffee shop on the corner. There's the wood shop adjacent to it, and then the Fab Lab around the corner there. And it's all connected. It's all one space, run by one organization. And we just opened the wood shop a couple weeks ago. We're moving through the level 1 and level 2 orientations to get people in there creating.
And that's where this will be on Friday, the Sloyd Experience for young folks. So how do people get involved, and when they show up, what will they end up doing? Talk us through what the day will look like.
Yeah, great question. The program is targeted to children aged 6 to 14. That being said, I look forward to doing some Sloyd Experience with adults at some point. But to start, we're gonna offer it to children, 6 to 14, and a typical session, the kid comes in, there's an orientation to the space and the tools. Every kid has their own workstation, their own workbench, which is equipped with a vise, a Japanese pole saw, a marking gauge, a block plane, and these are all real tools. There's a heavy focus on safety. We talk about the safety of the tools, and then we also talk about focus and what it means to focus and concentrate. And then there's a demonstration of each tool that's at their bench, and within 15 minutes, these kids are marking lines and cutting wood and creating.
That's so cool. It's this Friday at Makespace, Sloyd Woodworking for kids. If people want to take part, how do they find out more?
The website, makespacenorthpark.ca. There's a registration page there. Or they can go to the SloydExperienceCanada.org website, and I can be reached through that website. And we're offering programming Friday at 4 p.m. and Saturday at 12 p.m. And this is our first pilot open to the public, and we look forward to finding more time slots that are going to work and just getting more kids involved.
So this is the first one this weekend, but there's going to be more to come, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
All right.
We're just getting going.
Hey, Dylan Warnberg, he's the president and founder of Sloyd Experience Canada, a board member of Makespace North Park, as we were just hearing there. Good luck with this, and it's just kind of cool to hear about the space, too. It's neat that you guys are doing this and creating this spot for people to be creative. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having us.
All right, I got to take a break. 7:30 News coming up next on CFAX 1070.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
The 20th Oak Bay Half Marathon is May 24th. More info at oakbayhalf.com. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's, Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Have an event you want featured on CFAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hello, good morning. It's 7:31, Tuesday, May 12th. We're looking at a cloudy day eventually as the clouds roll in and a chance of showers comes with it. We'll tell you more about the weather in just a moment, but right now let's talk about the news. And here with the top stories of the day, it's Lisa Best.
It's Census Day. Have you filled in that form yet? Short or long? You have to share. And in the age that we don't like doing that so much, many are complaining the survey is asking too many personal questions.
Statistics Canada asks Canadians to fill out the census form by today. The Federal Statistics Act says every household and farm operator in Canada must participate, and failing to do so could result in a $500 fine. However, some Canadians have taken to social media to express their discontent with the census, fearing it is invasive, and protesting by posting pictures of ripped up forms or envelopes marked Return to Sender. Mark Gerritsen, the MP for Kingston and the Islands, says the census is not a personal data grab by the Prime Minister. He says the census is how Canada collects the data it uses to decide how many schools a community needs, where hospitals and clinics should be built, and how much federal funding a municipality receives. David Augustine, The Canadian Press.
BC's top doctor says the 4 Canadians who were on that cruise ship in the Atlantic at the center of the hantavirus outbreak will remain in isolation for at least 21 days. It started when they arrived at the Victoria Airport on the weekend. Dr. Bonnie Henry says this virus is very different from COVID.
I know this news, again, can be unsettling to people in British Columbia, and certainly I also have felt unsettled as we've been watching what's been happening in the last few weeks, especially in the light, of course, of all that we went through due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But I want to again reassure everybody that hantavirus is a very different disease, and it's not spread in the same way that we saw with the coronavirus, with influenza, measles, and other diseases.
Henry says these 4, they don't have any symptoms at this point, noting none of them had any direct contact with anyone who was actually infected on the ship. But we are learning a Spanish passenger evacuated from that cruise ship has also tested positive now.
The World Health Organization says it has confirmed 11 cases, including 3 from the cruise who died. Spanish officials said the passenger with the new confirmed case of hantavirus is in quarantine in a military hospital in Madrid. The passenger is in the same hospital with 13 other Spanish nationals who all tested negative for the virus. The WHO says all 11 confirmed cases are among passengers or crew of the cruise ship. 9 of the 11 cases have been confirmed as the Andes virus. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The leader of the Green Party is sounding an alarm about the breakdown of current systems in the Atlantic Ocean. Saanich and Gulf Islands MP Elizabeth May says recent research finds there's a 50-50 chance of currents collapsing.
Frozen fresh water from the Arctic melts, from the Arctic ice in Canada, from the Greenland ice sheets. That fresh water pushes down and depresses the Gulf Stream. It's weakening, but it could stop. If it totally stops and collapses, the impacts are disastrous. We would have massively colder northern Europe, massive increases in sea level rise along the Atlantic seaboard. The extent of the impacts would stretch down to the Amazon. It'd be a global shift in planetary climate systems.
May says reforestation and cutting the use of fossil fuels can help combat the issue, but we need to act now as a society. The new study from the Smart Minds at UVic and the Pacific Salmon Foundation looked at the diet of adult Chinook salmon in the Salish Sea. What they found was that herring was the most important food choice, but anchovies were also found in the stomachs, collecting near Howe Sound, and something called sandlands, commonly known as sand eels, were important in the waters off Victoria and Sydney. Salmon stomachs were collected by local anglers and submitted to the Adult Salmon Diet Program. And latest on AI in BC. Canada's artificial intelligence minister says the federal government is willing to accept financial risk to remain competitive in AI development. Devin Solomon and TELUS yesterday announcing plans for 3 AI data centers in this province, including 2 in Vancouver and 1 in Kamloops. Outgoing TELUS Chief Executive Darren Whistle.
TELUS's AI factories will not only deliver world-leading sovereign compute capacity, but will also set a global leadership standard for excellence in sustainable compute. Not just leading the way, but this country being the leader on a global basis as it relates to sustainable compute.
The project announcement comes after calls for proposals from Ottawa on large-scale AI clusters earlier this year. That's your news to 7:36. hour, CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking, how concerned are you about hantavirus? 11% say very, 25%, a quarter say somewhat, 64% not at all. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best. Your news time is 7:37.
We've got a few sunny patches out there to start this Tuesday, but the clouds are going to roll in today, and a small chance of showers will arrive sometime later this afternoon or into the evening. I'll get you a full forecast in a moment. But that's what you can expect as you head into this day, and here's what you expect out of the sports. We've got a situation with the NHL playoffs where we saw the Colorado Avalanche get a 5-2 victory over the Minnesota Wild, which means they take a 3-1 lead in the second-round best-of-7 playoff series. A couple of games tonight, including the Montreal Canadiens back at it at the Bell Center. They'll be taking their 2-1 lead into this second-round best-of-7 series matchup with the Buffalo Sabres. Then the Vegas Golden Knights are entertaining the Anaheim Ducks for that second-round series. It's tied up at 2 games apiece. In baseball, Kevin Gausman earned his 2,000th career strikeout last night, but it happened while the Toronto Blue Jays lost to the Tampa Bay Rays 8-5. But hey, silver linings. Gausman says he's honored to reach this pitching milestone.
My career has been ups and downs and been very different, and not all sunshine and rainbows. So, I take those things with, very seriously, and I'm honored by it for sure.
The Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays play again today, and the Seattle Mariners in action yesterday, defeating Houston 3-1. In local baseball, the Victoria Harbor Cats have not started their regular season yet, but they have announced that pitcher Shea Lake will be returning for that season when it does start. By the way, they will kick off on the road May 29th versus the Portland Pickles. And Canadian Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with 35 points, 8 assists, as his visiting Oklahoma City Thunder beat Los Angeles Lakers 115-110, and in that they sweep that best-of-7 Western Conference semifinal series. That's your sports to 7:39. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season and big savings on your heating bill, talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. On the roads, no crashes or accidents at this time. Text me if I'm wrong, 71010. It is a fairly typical West Shore commute. I was picking on the kind of Millstream area of Langford heading into downtown Victoria. That's about a 40-minute drive right now, which can be a fairly typical time for midweek. If you see otherwise, again, let me know at 71010. It is a little slower trying to get out of town northbound because paving work on Blanchard continues Bay to Hillside, restricting the northbound lanes down to just one single lane out of what's usually 3. Things are fine southbound. It's kind of heading out of town. That's a bit slow, and that's pushed some traffic onto the other routes as well. So just generally slow getting out of town. For the BC ferries, no sailing waits. And for the weather, we are looking at increasing clouds today. Small chance of showers, highs up to 21 degrees. We see a chance of showers overnight as well. Clears up on Wednesday, windy though. Thursday, cloudy with a chance of showers back by later in the day Thursday. And then after that, we're just kind of in a chance of showers on and off through the rest of the long weekend ahead of us. At least that's our long-range forecast. What's happening on the markets? Things are slumping a little bit. S&P TSX in Toronto down 78 points to 34,060. The Dow in New York is down 300, 49,000. Down 300 to 49,403. Otherwise, that was going to sound like a very big number. And for the Canadian dollar, it's at 72.9 cents U.S. Barrel of oil's back up over $100 a barrel to $101.96 U.S. That's up over $3 from yesterday.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Lots of listeners still texting us about keeping rental units cool, which is something Victoria City Council will be talking about this week. And this texter says, "Hi, Ryan and Lisa. The rental building I live in had an electrical and boiler upgrade. Then in July 1st, 2021, a new regulation permitted landlords to recover costs for major capital projects by having tenants pay for the upgrades. Residents in my buildings filed a dispute resolution with the residential tenancy branch. They ruled in favor of the landlord. In addition to my 3.5% annual rent increase, I received a separate document showing the amount added to my monthly rent to pay for the electrical and boiler upgrades." Interesting. Because we were talking about how does this make sense financially? Because the idea here is, do you require landlords to cool at least one space in a building during something like a heat event? Or do you just permit tenants to install their own heating, which could involve electrical upgrades depending on the building? Or
you would think it would have to go building by building, because you'd have to tailor
everything's
it,
different,
because every building is different with a different electrical grid, and some won't be able to handle
exactly
the amount needed.
And that's all could be expensive. Different expenses could vary. So how does all of that get paid for? I guess this texter pointing out that there are ways tenants can come and get it out of the rent payers. So I guess just something to consider. Thank you for adding that into the mix. Another texter says, "Good morning, Ryan and Lisa. Airy Manor and Souk just installed ceiling fans in each unit.
There's something.
Speed 6 is so powerful it could take you into space." So thank you
dry
for
your
that.
laundry on it. Just hang on tight.
And then this texture, just the story from back in the the heat dome days. A tenant I had hung a jug of frozen water in front of a fan.
We can put ice cubes. I've done that.
Yeah.
Anything to basically blow cool into the room. But fans help. But if the air in the room is already hot, then, obviously that's not going to help us much.
Texter here says, "Hey, if you can plug a toaster or a hair dryer or an air fryer in, you could also plug in AC. Saying that buildings can't handle the electrical draw is fear-mongering." No. Well, texter, we do have several other texters here saying they bought one and then blew their circuits immediately.
It draws a lot more power. Depending on the appliance, it'll draw less or more power. AC draws a lot of power.
You are correct, though, that a lot of buildings can handle it, but there are
true.
that can't. So it's, mileage may vary. But lots of people weighing in on this.
Good choice of words.
If this is interesting to you, and it sure is interesting to a lot of folks, do pay attention to Thursday's council meeting. Victoria City councillors will be discussing this motion. At 7:45, over to Lisa and the headlines.
While we're at it, spring outdoor activities in full swing: gardening, trimming trees, washing windows, all involves rolling out ladders and tools. And BC Hydro crews are asking you to watch out for power lines, because getting too close can have deadly consequences. They're actually running a contest online that quizzes you about staying safer on power lines and electrical equipment. If you want to fill it out, you'll be in the running for a $500 Canadian Tire gift certificate. You still have to do your census, though, and they're not giving you anything for that, unfortunately. California unveiling a new $1 coin depicting late Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. It features the image of a young Jobs sitting in oak-covered Northern California hills. It's part of the U.S. Mint American Innovation $1 coin program, a federal series honoring innovators from every state. Governor Gavin Newsom chose Jobs as California's representative innovator. Probably quite a good choice. A Victoria-based lawyer appointed to the BC Supreme Court by Federal Justice Minister Sean Fraser, Jeffrey W. Locke, was associate counsel at Stuart McDonald Stewart in Victoria. He takes the place of another Victoria Justice, J.A. Power, who is elected part-time for the role in February. The UVic grad was called to the bar in 1997. And miners in Myanmar have discovered a massive ruby, considered to be the second largest by weight ever found in the country. 11,000 carats. It was unearthed in mid-April. Although it weighs less than 21,000 carat stone found in 1996, it's considered more valuable due to its superior color and quality. Myanmar produces about 90% of the world's rubies, with gemstones being the major revenue source for the country. That's your news to 7:47.
So, Lisa, you know how the other thing I do apart from hang out with you in the mornings on the show here.
Yes.
Is I do a weekend program with a guy named The Dork Uncorked.
I thought you were going to say you're in a band.
Oh, there's that too. But
Yeah. A little busy, this Ryan guy.
we got a wine show.
Okay, to the wine.
I'm just the guy who hangs out and does the radio. Rod Phillips, The Dork Uncorked, is the
Right.
guy who knows about the wine. But we don't often just stick to talking about reviewing wines.
Mm-hmm.
He's also very plugged into the liquor business.
Okay.
And as such, I've learned lots of things. Like, do you remember how back during the strike, the BCGEU strike last fall, one of the effects was that this warehouse run by the government was under picket lines, so
Yes.
liquor couldn't get distributed.
It was bad.
It
was bad for many restaurants.
Yeah, so restaurants were not able to get the products they needed. Liquor store shelves were going bare.
Yes.
Except for a few products. There's an exemption to this rule that requires all booze to go through a government warehouse.
Oh.
The exemption is some locally made things like craft beers and wines that are BC made, some BC spirits. So those things, ciders I think are also on there.
Right.
Those things were allowed to be directly sent to those restaurants and shops.
Okay.
But only the BC made ones.
Right.
They're the only exemptions. Otherwise, everything has
Sort
to
of
go
fast
through.
track
Yeah,
to
everything
give them
else has to go through a big government warehouse.
Correct. But they give them a deal because they're local. Well, they bypass it because they're local.
Well,
Less
yeah,
red
and
tape.
I think it's just trying to help out the
Right.
local business. But there's been a change.
Oh.
They're now going to increase the number of things that are exempt from going through that big warehouse. And that is BC made hard pre-mixed cocktails and coolers and those kind of things.
Is that because of the strike? And
Well,
what happened? The fallout from it?
maybe it could be. I'm not sure. They're not exactly saying it that way, but that could be a change.
Okay.
Now, this is great news if you are some of those locally made producers. It makes you less vulnerable to things like the strike. It makes it easier for you to get your product to your customer, the bars and restaurants and stores, because you can bypass this middleman.
Right.
But if you're the BCGEU,
you don't
this
like
is a
it.
betrayal of the union because you're taking away some of the work that the big old union government warehouse was providing. So there's two sides to the story.
Yeah.
Josh and Jade spoke to the union recently about this. But let's talk to the BC Alliance of Beverage Licensees about why they are happy about it. Coming up next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island. The 20th Oak Bay Half Marathon is May 24th. More info at oakbayhalf.com. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's, Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca. Have an event you want featured on CFAX 1070? Text us at 71010 to be featured.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX traffic and weather. It is 7:51 on a Tuesday morning. The West Shore commute's looking fairly typical as far as volume delays. Slow going, but nothing unusual. For the paving work on Blanchard, it's on again today from Bay to Hillside. Watch out for delays northbound. And for the BC Ferries, no sailing waits. The weather is clouding over today. Chance of showers by this afternoon and overnight.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, let's get into this. We were just setting it up before the break. The fact that liquor distribution rules are changing in the province, reforms that'll expand the list of BC-made drinks that manufacturers can kind of ship right to their customers, right to the stores or the bars and restaurants, instead of going through the big old BC government warehouse. Reacting to this, the executive director of the BC Alliance of Beverage Licensees, otherwise known as ABLE BC, Executive Director Bo Chen, is joining us on the line. Sir, how you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to get you here. So run through the changes here and whether or not they're a good or a bad thing from your perspective.
Yeah, well, certainly from the industry's perspective, this is a shared win across all the stakeholders involved in this particular category, right? And that includes everyone from the brands to the hospitality establishments to the folks at the BCGEU and also the end consumer. And the way I kind of explain it and how I see it is these four benefits work this way, right? For the brands and manufacturers, this gives them an opportunity to innovate and basically test the market with new products. For hospitality guys like pubs and restaurants, they can expect to see a lot of new selections coming in their way. And as these new products come online, they're able to give that immediate feedback back to the brands. Now, for the folks at the BCGEU, what this actually does is actually secures jobs. Because if you really think it through, as these brands innovate and test these new products and they get basically launched with the hospitality folks, when these categories and these products get picked up and become really popular, the manufacturing brands, they're actually going to take this product and probably bring it back to central distribution, just because when you're launching these new products, you were doing it at very small volumes and you want to get immediate feedback right away. And that's what this change does, right? And the moment that they have a winner out of their new selections, they can take it back to the Liquor Distribution Board and say, hey, guys, if this is actually going to be a mainstay product, we actually want to mass produce this and now start bringing back this into the central distribution warehouse. And lastly, but not least, I think the biggest winner is going to be the end consumer at the end of the day, because then with more of these innovation and new test pilot projects coming online, they're going to have more options to choose.
Does this also mean that, back to the union a little bit, when we saw the strike last fall and they put the big distribution warehouse under a picket line, it meant drinks like this couldn't be distributed at all. Like there was no way to get them here. Does it kind of give the industry a bit more protection from that kind of situation? If there's a strike like that, at least the BC-made drinks will still be able to flow?
Well, it's hard to say. I think time will tell in terms of how the market will react, right? I think the intention of this ultimately is to allow a lot of the local brands and manufacturers in BC to be able to, again, innovate and test products that they have been thinking of, right? So whether or not how the market will react to this, and let's say, I don't know, whenever the next union discussion is, I'm not sure. Well, ultimately for us, it's just, we tend to always get caught in the middle between the union and also the government, right, as small business. And the main thing for us is that we're looking forward to this change where it allows more products to be innovated and be able to share that with the rest of the end consumers.
Can you give me an example of a few of these drinks? Like, I think I got my head around the sort of ready-made, pre-mixed drinks that get sold in BC, but what are some examples of those?
Oh, yeah, you can imagine like your hard seltzers, your Olays. Please Beverage is another popular one that's been coming up locally in the Mount Pleasant area. Basically, the refreshment ready to drink, or just think of your cans and hard seltzers or Mike's Hard Lemonade. Those are a few key ones that you can imagine in that category.
And how big of a deal is that category? My understanding is it's grown in popularity, so it's becoming one of the big sort of segments you deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just innovative change due to what consumers want these days. It's a category that hasn't really been thought of in the past, and then now it's starting to take off.
Interesting. Do you think that you would want to see more of this kind of movement out of the BC government, sort of freeing up more things from the big central distribution warehouse where a lot of things are required to go? Do you think more of this is needed?
I think ultimately it's going to take some time, right? I think between all the different stakeholders, what needs to be done is that the ecosystem needs to be respected. So everyone's perspective needs to be weighed in on this. But if there are hard lessons that we've learned, that's going to bring a lot more stability and health to the sector in both the public and the private system. Then ideally, we try to find the best win there.
Well, we got Bo Chen, Executive Director of Able BC, on the line. Thank you so much for weighing in on the changes.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we'll take a quick break here. We got the top stories of the day at 8 o'clock with Lisa Best in a moment. Also, your traffic and weather. There is potentially some rain on the forecast, just some light showers maybe for later today and overnight. We'll get you the full traffic and weather, as well as the news and the sports and everything else you need to start your day, coming up next.
CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
It's 8 o'clock on this Tuesday, May 12th. Good morning. We will cloud over and maybe get into a chance of showers this afternoon and overnight. Full forecast to come. Right now, the news begins. And here is Lisa Best.
With hantavirus in focus, health experts say it's unclear whether they're actually testing people who may have been exposed to it but don't have symptoms would actually be useful.
BC's provincial health officer says public health officials around the world are discussing the issue. This as passengers from a hantavirus-stricken cruise ship return to their home countries. Dr. Bonnie Henry says tests for some viruses aren't effective before patients develop symptoms, but she says if any of the 10 people in Canada who may have been exposed to the virus develop symptoms, health officials are ready to test and treat them. Hantavirus scientist Bryce Warner says a negative test in someone without symptoms doesn't necessarily mean they don't have the virus. Aaron Sousa, the Canadian Press.
Canada's artificial intelligence minister says the federal government is willing to accept financial risk to remain competitive in AI development. Evan Solomon in TELUS yesterday announcing plans for 3 AI data centers to be built here in BC, 2 in Vancouver, 1 in Kamloops. Outgoing TELUS chief executive Darren Entwistle says it'll give factories a cutting edge.
Our AI data centers will utilize advanced cooling and waste heat recovery to achieve efficiency that is 3 times better than industry global standards.
Ottawa has committed $2 billion over 5 years to support large-scale Canadian data center products. Next door in Wild Rose Country, the threat of Alberta separation was discussed at a pro-Canada event last night featuring former Alberta Premier Jason Kenney and Calgary Liberal MP Corey Hogan. Kennedy is one of the few Conservatives who've been targeting the separatists over the past year. He expects the federal Conservatives will eventually get involved and says current leader Pierre Poilievre needs to take on the role that Jean Charest played during the Quebec referendum in 1985.
He will find his voice on that. He grew up in Alberta. He represents an Alberta riding. I don't think he wants to get up, and this is the challenge, he doesn't want to get up every day. Like, he's the leader of the opposition to the government of Canada. That's his political and constitutional job. But if this thing goes forward, I fully expect him to take a leadership role.
Corey Hogan said many people may be waiting for the plebiscite to clear its legal hurdles before they jump on board. An MP is calling on us to fill out the census for the good of the community. Completing the census is required by law. Today is Census Day, needs to be in by today. But some Canadians have taken to social media to express their opposition to it. Several have posted photos online of ripped up forms or envelopes marked return to sender, sometimes with angry messages aimed at the Prime Minister. Liberal MP Mark Garrettson posted a video on social media saying that census is not a personal data grab by the Prime Minister. Instead, he says it helps them make informed decisions about, say, the number of schools a community needs, where hospitals and clinics should be built, and how much federal funding a municipality should actually receive. We're talking about heat and heat pumps and air conditioning in summertime. Health officials are also wanting us to make sure we're drinking the right amount of water on a daily basis.
One health expert is highlighting that the amount recommended varies. Family medicine physician at the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Nia Vyas, says folks should shoot for 8 to 12 glasses of water a day, but it's important to listen to your body if you need more. How much depends on age, metabolism, and any chronic medical issues. She says when exercising or spending time outside on a hot day, don't forget to hydrate. I'm Michael Kastner.
On that note, some local residents got up close and personal about where their water comes from. CTV Vancouver Island's Brendan Strain has details.
31 people are disembarking a tour bus within the restricted area of the Souk watershed.
They've been going on for 37 years, and last year, for instance, we had about 1,800 people that went on those tours.
At full pool, this north basin, it's about 75 meters deep.
These people have come to the Souk Reservoir to find out more about where their drinking water comes from.
Just getting this, access to here is pretty impressive.
I had no idea that one of the initial pump stations was the Keg in Quadra.
It's just been so awesome to learn how lucky we are to get the great drinking water that we do get.
It's a 22,405 hectare protected area that feeds the reservoir, supplying clean drinking water to roughly 430,000 people in the CRD.
Currently, we're at 98% full, and it's looking good for the year.
That could be chalked up to a warm and rather wet winter.
We are a rainwater based system, so we're not dependent on snowpack.
That is your news to 8:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning: how concerned are you about hantavirus? 11% say very, a quarter say somewhat, and almost 2/3 say not at all. You can vote at CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, also the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 8:07.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday, where we will see clouds roll in and a chance of showers arrive later this afternoon. We'll get you a full forecast in a moment. Right now to the sports, where locally, Victoria Harper Cats have announced that pitcher Shea Lake will return for a third season. This as the Harper Cats begin their season May 29th on the road versus the Portland Pickles. They got a home opener June 2nd. But yeah, locking in that pitcher, one of them, for the season. In baseball for the majors, Kevin Gausman earning his 2,000th career strikeout last night, although it happened during a Toronto Blue Jays loss to the Tampa Bay Rays 8-5. But hey, good to have something to celebrate. And Gausman says it is worth celebrating.
My career has been ups and downs and been very different, and not all sunshine and rainbows. So, I take those things with, very seriously, and I'm honored by it for sure.
By the way, Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays will play again today for another game in that series. The Seattle Mariners downed Houston 3-1 yesterday. In the NHL, Parker Kelly's goal at 11:32 of the third period snapped a 2-all tie and eventually lifted the visiting Colorado Avalanche to a 5-2 victory over the Minnesota Wild last night. And with that, Colorado taking a 3-1 lead in the second round best-of-7 NHL playoff series. For the Montreal Canadiens, they get back at it tonight. They take their 2-1 lead into the game number 4 today against the visiting Buffalo Sabres. And for basketball, Oklahoma City Thunder completing the sweep of the Los Angeles Lakers, and they did that last night with a 115-110 win. So Oklahoma and Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they will move on after completing the Western Conference semifinal series. That's your CFAX 1070 Sports. It's 8:08. Time for CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Hey, text me at 71010 if you see a crash or accident or other problem causing issues on the morning commute. Right now, it's a fairly typical day. The West Shore commute into Victoria is actually getting a little lighter than it was last hour. It was taking about 40 minutes to go from the Millstream area of Langford into downtown Victoria. Now it's about 30 minutes, or just a little more than 30 minutes. So we shaved about 10 minutes off in the last little bit here. For the paving work on Blanchard, it's on again northbound from Bay to Hillside, so watch out for delays there. Squeezing it all down to one lane because of the paving work. We have on the weather front a bit of cloud coming in. Chance of showers by this afternoon and overnight. Temperatures should top out around 21 degrees today, a little cooler by the water. Lows to 11 overnight. Cloudy tomorrow. Will clear up a little bit. The chance of showers shouldn't stick around into the day, but we do see a lot of wind start to gust off the Juan de Fuca Strait later into tomorrow. Highs of 18 degrees. Clouding over again on Thursday. Chance of showers again by Thursday night. And then after that, the whole long-range forecast for the Victoria Day long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's all looking mostly overcast with chances of showers popping up here and there throughout, kind of just coming and going. Right now, the temperatures around the region, if you are at the kind of Sydney North Saanich area, it's 14 degrees as the official temperature at the Victoria International Airport. It's also 14 degrees in Oak Bay. Taking a look at the markets right now. S&P TSX in Toronto down 103 points this hour to 34,035. The Dow in New York is down 310 to 49,394. The Nasdaq is down 291 to 25,982. Canadian dollar at 72.9 cents US. And the barrel of oil, $101.94 US. So we're back up over the $100 a barrel mark, and that's almost a $4 jump from yesterday. Again, as we continue to have mixed signals on the Strait of Hormuz and the Iran-U.S. war.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, it is Census Deadline Day. We'll just remind everybody of that again. May the 12th is the snapshot day. The census actually is supposed to reflect today.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever day you fill it out, it's supposed to be, what is the composition of your household on this very day.
Right, so if you had guests last weekend, they don't count.
Yeah, exactly. That was last weekend. But it is also the deadline. You're supposed to get it in today.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a hard deadline, though, we're hearing. They would like you to do it today.
Okay.
But it's not like you face a fine tomorrow if it's not in. However, they will start knocking on your door eventually because it is legally required that you do it.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of listeners weighing in on the long form versus the short form census. People complaining about the hour it took them to do the long form. Because I guess it's like a lottery system now. You're kind of randomly getting assigned whether it's the short one or the long one.
I think the random is more fair.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously if you get the long and you feel like you're targeted, that's not a good feeling. So random, I like that word when it comes to who gets the short straw and who gets the long.
Yeah. Did you get the short one, Lisa?
I got the short.
And how long did it take you, if you don't mind me asking?
No, that's not an invasive question.
Yeah, exactly. We're a little sensitive to invasive questions today.
I don't know, maybe 5 minutes.
Okay, so the short form was real easy for you, 5 minutes.
I was done thinking, wow, that was easy. And I've since learned there's another form.
The long one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which some of our texters have let us know took them an hour or more. So a few grumbles here on the text line at 71010. But either way, it's the law, and it is the census day today, May the 12th. Did you know that if you have a new car, you might have an HD radio?
Oh, yes. That's true.
And if you have one...
Worth the price of admission.
Did you know that you can listen to CFAX 1070 on that HD radio?
Technology.
Here's how you do it. So if you are on your radio, you go to 107.3, which is our sister station, Virgin Radio.
Correct.
But then you'll notice that those HD buttons. So you just push the 2. We are on HD2 at 107.3.
Okay.
On your HD radio.
Nice.
And then you listen to CFAX 1070 like it's FM quality. Although I do personally like the AM radio sound, but that's just me.
Well, it's old school. But if you want it to be cleaner, if you got car noise, mind you, it's a new car, so you won't have car noise.
Yeah. So if you
get the windows open.
Yeah. If you are in a new car with an HD radio and you haven't checked it out, go to 107.3 and click on HD2 for CFAX 1070.
All right.
At 8:15, let's get to the text just came in. I was laughing at it as I was trying to speak. It's Big Brother watching you, says the census. Anyways, census conversation. We'll get to the headlines now. Lisa, what's going on in the world?
The head of the World Health Organization says there's still no sign that hantavirus could be the start of a larger outbreak. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says there is a potential for more cases due to the long incubation period involved. The latest case is a Spanish passenger evacuated from the cruise ship on Sunday. That brings the total number of confirmed infections to 11. Of course, we do know that there's 4 people who are self-isolating here on Vancouver Island for the next couple of weeks to ensure that they are asymptomatic. Amazon is rapidly opening store-sized delivery hubs in dozens of North American cities to fulfill customers' most urgent product needs in 30 minutes or less. The e-commerce titan's ultra-fast Amazon Now service first launched in India last June. Amazon says it's now available in 5 other countries and expanding. The many warehouses are devoted to Amazon Now stock, about 3,500 products, everything from fresh produce to beer to diapers, non-prescription meds, cleaning supplies, even shampoo. Offering uber-fast deliveries is the latest chapter of the e-commerce titan's relentless pursuit to get products out to you faster. The company revolutionized online shopping, of course, after it introduced 2-day shopping. That was 21 years ago. And David Attenborough celebrating a milestone on Friday. He will be turning 100. The world's most famous wildlife presenter is part of the host of a party the BBC is throwing at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And cinema is, of course, playing his nature films. Despite the accolades, Attenborough prefers the animals to be the stars. Over his 70 years, his documentaries have brought the wonders of nature into all of our homes. And lately, of course, he's been focused on climate change and environmental threats. That's your news to 8:16.
Thank you, Lisa. Somebody we talk to from time to time on the show is a guy here in Victoria who used to hold former diplomatic posts in Moscow, in Rome, in London, and Brussels. He's got a lot of diplomatic experience. He's here in Victoria now, and he weighs in on some of the kind of diplomatic things happening in the world with Canada, including our situation with the United States, including the fact that those CUSMA negotiations still continue to make headlines. And there's a few other interesting things that have happened on that file in the last week or so, such as the fact that it looks like the Conservatives are complaining that there could be a cut in interparliamentary associations which make inroads with the U.S. Senate and Congress. I guess this is this whole thing where, like, parliamentarians here sometimes try to build relationships with U.S. counterparts.
Correct. Yes, we've seen that happening.
Is the federal government cracking down on that? And is this because the likes of, MP Javil Giovanni, the conservative who keeps going down there to try to be buddy-buddy with...
That's what I was thinking.
Is that kind of thing? I don't know. But anyways, what is the opinion of Jeremy Kinsman, former diplomat? We're going to get to him next. CFAX at 70 traffic and weather. By the way, the whole morning show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps for a comfortable home no matter the season. Big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps, designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Okay, so traffic's looking actually pretty good if you're coming from the West Shore into Victoria. We've seen it lighten up a little bit over the last hour. No crashes, no accidents. So we do have the northbound paving on Blanchard at Bay to Hillside. Again, it's slowing things up leaving town. And there are no sailing waits at BC Ferries. It's actually a pretty decent day commute-wise so far. Knocking on wood. Text me if I'm wrong. For the weather, it's clouding over. We'll get to a chance of showers by later this afternoon and overnight. Highs to hit about 21 today. And right now, we're already at 14 degrees.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Taking the pulse of Canada-U.S. relations with the CUSMA review deadline coming at us July 1st, and a story that keeps on being in the news here. Let's talk to Jeremy Kinsman, former diplomatic posts in Moscow, Rome, London, Brussels. A lot of diplomatic experience. He's here in Victoria now, and we love leaning on him for some of that experience as we try to digest all of these news stories. Jeremy Kinsman, welcome back to the program.
Hi, Ryan. Happy to be here.
Always great to talk to you. So I guess maybe we'll start just with a quick reset on where things are at, because Canada's continuing to head towards these conversations. You keep getting comments from Donald Trump, which are always You got to read the tea leaves on that. By the way, Donald Trump's about to go to China. So that's another kind of trade discussion to work into things. Where are things at, from your perspective, as we head towards this deadline of July 1st?
Well, the first thing I'll say, Ryan, I've never known a major negotiation about which there's so little of being leaked or said or commented on from Canadian participants. I mean, they're really, mum is the word. Partly that's because they don't want to be caught up in reacting to every provocative remark that's made by Trump or by Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce. Conversations are going on. The actual negotiations, formal negotiations, haven't begun yet. What's today? May 12th?
Yeah.
So in the next 6 weeks, they obviously will take place. The parties to the treaty, which this is the second treaty. The first one was NAFTA. It's the update. It's a 6-year checkpoint. And at this point, 6 years from July 1st, 2020, when they signed it, they got to make some decisions. They got to decide whether to renew the agreement for another 16 years. And if they don't agree, then it just goes year to year to year, which is very inconvenient and sort of unpredictable for investors and exporters. It brings in uncertainty, and Canadians obviously want it renewed. Americans want a lot of concessions, of course. It's a negotiation. And Canada's purpose is, of course, to meet those, confront those. We got a few of our own, of course. The Americans introduced in this particular last few years, tariffs that they claimed were for reasons of national security on aluminum and steel, which are highly, highly punitive. And as you know, very, very public, they've asked to undo the provisions for the, by now, rather, antique in terms of its history, auto agreement. And so these are going to be, major issues. Carney's looking at it in a big picture sort of way. He doesn't want Canada to come into this like a supplicant, We've got our goals. We've got tremendous assets and things to pitch here, which is a continentally integrated energy sector, rare minerals, agriculture, and the business communities in those sectors absolutely want, and of course automobiles, want those to continue. So what we're looking for is predictability. So that's a picture, Ryan.
Now, Mark Carney was speaking just this weekend to a room in Toronto. He was at an event, and he mentioned that Canada remains open to deeper integration with the U.S., and that's not off the table, but also that Canada is looking to build new trade relationships in order to move away from reliance on the U.S. So he seemed like he was just leaving all the options on the table. One of the ways we're trying to build, resilience and leave reliance on the U.S. is looking to China, it seems. At least we've been trying to soften our relationship with China. And now, in that vein, the Americans are engaged. We got Donald Trump going to China this weekend. How does China factor into all of this little triangle between the countries? Because I know we're softening our relationship. The Americans are alarmed at that, or at least they're kind of talking down at us for doing it. But at the same time, Donald Trump's going there. Put that picture together for us.
Well, yeah, China on our minds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, China is a huge deal, and there are no two ways about it. And it's a different kind of deal for the United States. They're having a mano a mano to some extent on who's number one. The United States still is in terms of military and the reach of its economy and finances, but everybody sees the United States, especially after this debacle in Iran, as kind of a diminishing power. China feels itself as the rising power, and to some extent they're right, aren't they, just by the numbers. Canada can't afford to live on this earth without a relationship with the number two, but enormously important economy, and it's China. That's just a fact. And we can't be over-reliant on an unreliable trading partner, which is the United States. It wasn't unreliable before, but, the facts are it is now. So that's our position. We're not doing a lot with China, for heaven's sake. China is 5% of our trade. and the United States is probably around 80%. It's not neither China nor Europe is going to substitute for the United States, but we need relationships there. For China, we certainly need a market. We need access to that market for important things for Canada, and with Europe, we need a partner for big projects that we can complete, and it gives us a hedge, gives us a leverage. So that if something, off the wall happens with the United States, as has been happening, we've got some cushion there, and and we're on this earth to be a participant, not to be an appendage. So I think that's going to happen, and the United States has to obviously acknowledge that's going to happen. They have their own issues with China, and it's very possible that Trump's just going to close a deal with Xi Jinping and say, look, let's face it, we're the G2. And to some extent, it's true. Nothing can happen big time in the world without those two countries' agreement. Like on climate, right now, Trump calls it a hoax, but the United States hopefully gets around that attitude. But they both have to be involved. And by the way, China has 70% of the supply chains on solar, on wind, on batteries. On rare earths, it's 90%, and so they're enormously important.
Well, we got to leave it there just because we're out of time, but taking the temperature on Canada-U.S. relations, throwing China into the mix as well. Jeremy Kinsman, it's always great to chat with you and get your diplomatic experience.
Thanks a lot, Ryan.
All right. Well, hey, looking forward to the next time we touch base there, but we got to take a break for the 8:30 news. Lisa Best with the top stories of the day coming up next.
Developing political story, a big doozy.
Vashi Capellos.
What started as a dull day as anything but.
The top newsmakers.
Your go-to political debrief. Daily.
What is really going on?
The breaking news.
Just moments ago.
And the entertaining analysis and debate to follow.
I don't think you can sugarcoat it. It's an issue.
It's not true, guys. Yeah.
Vashi Capellos.
There is a greater plan here.
Vashi Capellos. Weekdays, 9 a.m. to 11.
Bigger picture politically, which is
on CFAX 1070. CFAX Victoria.
An iHeartRadio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
It's 8:30 on Tuesday, May 12th. We've got clouds rolling in. We've got a chance of showers by later this afternoon and into the evening. I'll get you a full forecast in just a moment, but right now the news begins. And here is Lisa Best.
For Canadians isolating here on Vancouver Island after the potential contact with hantavirus, health officials keeping us abreast of any developments as the number slowly grows in the amount of passengers contracting the hantavirus from that ill-fated ship in the Atlantic. Health officials in BC around the world continue to stress the risk to the public remains low.
We are all hoping that the 4 people who are here with us will remain well through this incubation period. They will
He'll quarantine for 21 days and be monitored for 42, the longest known incubation period for the virus, a rare rodent-borne pathogen that can cause serious illness in humans. The Public Health Agency of Canada says an individual in Quebec is no longer self-isolating as they are not considered a high-risk contact. In Ontario, a third person is now in self-isolation in Peel Region. Heather Wright, CTV News.
Experts say it's not clear whether it's useful to test people who may have been exposed but don't have any symptoms. University of Saskatchewan hantavirus scientist Bryce Warner says a negative test in someone without symptoms won't necessarily mean they haven't contracted it because the incubation period can take up to 3 weeks. There's no indication yet on whether gas prices might climb again. We have seen a dip in the price of regular gas at gas stations across Greater Victoria. Some are hovering around $2.10 a litre this hour. This says the latest attempt at a peace deal has shattered between the U.S. and Iran again. CTV's Joy Melbourne has some of the latest reaction from the U.S. president.
After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it.
The U.S. and Iran are at an impasse with traffic in the Strait of Hormuz effectively at a standstill.
They know how I feel. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
Trump threatened to destroy Iran if it didn't open up that critical shipping route. They didn't, and he hasn't. As for the shaky ceasefire,
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support.
Meantime, it appears the U.S. president had a late night burning the poison pen at both ends, posting online about perceived enemies.
The president posting or reposting on social media more than 50 times by our count, and nearly all of these posts focused on false claims or conspiracy theories. The president at one point responding to someone calling on the DOJ to make more arrests, just as he reshared a post with an unfounded conspiracy theory calling on former President Barack Obama to be arrested. Other posts attacked his perceived political enemies, including Hillary Clinton and James Comey.
Next door in neighboring Alberta, two politicians of different stripes came together at a pro-Canada event in Calgary last night to talk about a vote of Alberta separating. Former Alberta Premier Jason Kenney and Calgary MP, Liberal MP Corey Hogan, warned about the impact separation would have on both that province and the rest of Canada. Hogan said federal officials have been hesitant to get involved due to the plebiscite that isn't quite done yet.
We're in a very strange situation. You never want to shadow box. You never want to be arguing against something that's not real. But unfortunately, it's starting to feel pretty real. It's coming down the street very fast. We have 5 months to a referendum. It's time for all Canadians to stand up and talk about how much they love this country.
Kenny says federal politicians have to band together to speak up since time is running out. Criminal charges have now been filed in that deadly collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. Adam Gustafson of the U.S. Justice Department's Environment and Natural Resources Division spoke about the charges.
The indictment we've unsealed today alleges that Synergy and its employees, including Karthik Nair, broke the law in ways that caused this tragedy, causing billions of dollars worth of damage. The catastrophic collision on March 26, 2024 occurred within the Chesapeake Bay watershed at the western edge of the bay. When the dolly crashed into the Key Bridge, massive pieces of the bridge fell into the Patapsco River, along with vehicles, cargo containers, and other debris.
MV Delhi collision and bridge collapse forced one of the nation's busiest ports to close for about 3 months. The indictment charges 3 defendants of conspiracy to fraud the U.S. and causing the death of 6 construction workers who were on the bridge at the time and didn't get the warning in time. Those charged include the operator of the container ship as well as the technical superintendent. That is your news to 8:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. How concerned are you about hantavirus? 64%, two-thirds say not at all, 25% say somewhat, and about 10% say very. You can vote now at CFAX1070.com or the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa, best your news time is 8:36.
Chance of showers coming at us by later today as the clouds roll in, but still a few sunny patches out there as we get this Tuesday started. 14 degrees right now. Full forecast to come right now. Let's get over to the sports, where we have Kevin Gausman now with his 2,000th career strikeout. It came last night in the Toronto Blue Jays loss to the Tampa Bay Rays, 8-5. Gausman says it's an honor to reach this pitching milestone.
My career has been ups and downs and been very different, and not all sunshine and rainbows. So, I take those things with, very seriously, and I'm honored by it for sure.
Elsewhere in baseball, Seattle Mariners winning yesterday, defeating Houston 3-1. And the Victoria Harbor Cats announced that pitcher Shea Lake is returning for a third season. They're going to begin their season May 29th on the road. In the NHL, Colorado Avalanche with a 5-2 victory over the Minnesota Wild. They take a 3-1 series lead now in that second round best-of-7 NHL playoff series. And then for the Montreal Canadiens, they're back at it at home tonight. They got a 2-1 lead going into tonight's game against the Buffalo Sabres. And in basketball, Canadian Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had 35 points and 8 assists, and the visiting Oklahoma City Thunder edged the Los Angeles Lakers 115-110 to sweep their best-of-7 Western Conference semifinal series. That is your CFAX 1070 Sports. It is 8:38. CFAX 1070 Morning Show brought to you by Bluebird Cabs. Need a cab? Download the new Bluebird Cabs app at Bluebird Cabs Ltd. They're proudly local and Canadian-owned and run since 1946. We have been getting through a fairly normal day on the roads. No crashes or accidents, and it's continuing to lighten on the West Shore commute. I'm seeing right now, I've been picking on the Millstream neighborhood of Langford all day. It's now taking about half an hour to get from there to downtown Victoria. As an example, it was 40 minutes just last hour, so we're seeing things improve a little bit there. We've got the paving work northbound on Blanchard from Bay to Hillside, restricting things down to only one lane there, so watch out for slowdowns. And that's also spilling over to the surrounding roads as well, trying to get north because people are getting around it and making everything else a little more jammed. For the BC Ferries, no sailing waits. And for the weather, clouds rolling in, chance of showers coming with them. We've got a 30% chance of scattered showers around the region by this afternoon, a 60% chance of scattered showers overnight tonight. Temperature should top out around 21 degrees today and going down to a low of 11 overnight tonight. Now to the business news, where things have been slumping today. Unless you're the barrel of oil, in which case you're going way up. But the S&P TSX down 172 points at this hour to 33,966. The Dow in New York is down 284 to 49,420. The barrel of oil up nearly $4 to $101.97 U.S. a barrel. And the Canadian dollar at 72.9 cents, which is down a little bit from yesterday's close.
What are the limits of human knowledge?
Welcome to the Nerd Lab.
Yes, science!
CFAX Science Stuff.
Science! Yeah!
Blinded me with science!
I don't know what that means.
With Ryan and Lisa.
I've got some science about office dogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're talking office dogs. And why are we talking office dogs today, Lisa?
Because we have an office dog in.
Yeah, we do.
That's just too cute for the room.
You can't handle it.
Well, every dog we have in the office, and we've sort of gathered a list of them now.
There
because
seems to be a few that come in.
It's like Monday through Friday, we have a different office dog. Everybody, picks a day and brings their dog in. So today it's Cola.
Cola the dog.
Cola is a corgi.
Okay.
And if you know corgis, Cola quickly takes over everything in the office because they are the queen's dog and they have that attitude. So she's running up and down the hallway, barking at will. And this is Bailey's dog from our FM sister station.
Okay.
So,
how does it make you feel, Lisa?
Fantastic.
So you feel good. This is probably improving your mood at work.
100%. But before you start telling me the science of it, I have to mention Pickles.
There's also Mr. Pickles.
That's Marissa's dog.
Yeah.
Too cute. 5 pounds of fury. Rita, which is Stu's dog, still looks at me sketchy, but I'm trying to win her over. And then there's Teddy, Kyle's dog, aptly named because he looks just like a teddy bear. The sweetest.
That's a good tour through the office dogs that we see here at the radio station.
So now, why is this good for me?
Now, and I would love to have you weigh in at 7-10-10 as well, because it's not universally good for everybody.
Oh,
but
okay.
apparently, according to some research by the University of Lincoln, employees in dog-friendly workplaces reported 22% higher satisfaction with their working conditions, overall well-being, higher organizational loyalty. So those are a few of the things they found.
Dogs make us more loyal. Go figure.
Yeah, there you go. But also, that same research did have a few downsides.
Okay.
38% of respondents didn't think having dogs roaming around their office was a good thing. 13% felt that having a dog interrupting them at work would make them less productive.
Well, it depends on how many interruptions we're talking about. And I mean, if the dog is, peeing in the corner, then we got a bigger problem, obviously. But if the dog is behaving itself, and every dog we get in here does, then it's a joy. It's kind of like kids a little bit.
Yeah.
If the kid is not a joy to be around, it causes you stress.
And here's another thing it does. Apparently, it's not all about the dog itself. The dogs act as a social catalyst, increasing positive communication and collaboration among co-workers.
I like what you did there.
Positive.
Well, you know that when you go for a walk by yourself, right? Say you go for a walk by yourself on the Dallas Bluffs or any beach, pick a beach, and then you got a dog with you. The dog is your buffer for conversation.
Well, then you're talking to all the other dog owners as your dogs sniff and do their thing.
Absolute wingman, the best. Because, your dog, blah, 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 more conversation about dogs. So, it's a totally different walk when you've got a pooch with you.
So studies show that dogs in the office can reduce stress and do a bunch of other things we've mentioned.
Correct.
But there's all those caveats. You got to make sure that allergies are taken into consideration,
Correct.
that the dog is well behaved. You can't have a dog misbehaving in the office.
Going off the rails, yes.
But, what do you think? At 7-10-10, would a dog in the office help you with your stress or just feel good about your workplace? Or would this be a cause of stress for you?
Yeah. Do you like the idea of having dogs in workplaces in general?
And we ask because we're enjoying an office dog right now. We've been seeing the dog.
She's the cutest.
Some of the corgis, though. Corgis are just, they're kind of, I don't know, just goofballs.
They should come with crowns?
Well, yeah, the prance, the little legs.
Oh, adorable.
They're great. Adorable.
But really, I think our office dogs are the cutest in Victoria. I'm a little biased.
All right, now at 8:45 with the headlines, here again is Lisa.
Trouble across the pond in Britain. More junior ministers have jumped ship from the UK Labour government as the Prime Minister fights for his political life. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer told cabinet members that he has no intention of resigning as calls for him to leave grow louder. Several junior ministers stepped down from the government post today and calling for a change in leadership. About 80 Labour lawmakers have now said that Starmer should be quitting. 81 are needed to trigger a leadership contest, so it could change soon. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in the U.S. told House lawmakers today that a ceasefire with Iran remains in effect despite recent exchanges of fire as he faces another round of bipartisan questioning over the costs and endgame of this war. He's now testifying in front of the Senate. Hegseth also softened his tone from previous congressional hearings as he defended the Trump administration's historic $1.5 trillion military budget request for 2027. And Amazon is rapidly opening store-sized delivery hubs across many cities to fill customers' most urgent product needs in 30 minutes or less. Everything from non-prescription medications to beer to diapers to shampoo will be available. The mini warehouses devoted to Amazon Now stock about 3,500 products. Offering uber-fast deliveries is the latest chapter in the e-commerce titan's relentless pursuit of speedy deliveries. That's your news to 8:46.
Thank you, Lisa. See a crash, accident, or something else causing trouble on the commute? Text us at 71010. We've got your traffic and weather next.
The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe.
Everyone wants to know about real estate. Is the market going up or down? Time to buy or sell? How can government programs and policies affect you? Hear from local experts on topics like appraisal, inspection, investment, and others on how to maximize your real estate sale.
Providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe. Saturdays at noon on CFAX 1070.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. Thrifties would like to thank everybody who helped raise over $45,000 to support the new BC Cancer Centre in Nanaimo by purchasing specially marked pots at Island Grocers. Over to traffic and weather. No crashes or accidents to report at this time. Looking at the commute, things are lightening off a little bit from the West Shore into Victoria. I mean, it's still a bit of a slowdown, but it's better than it was earlier today. The paving work continues on Blanchard northbound from Bay to Hillside. And for the I haven't mentioned this as much because it's just been ongoing, but the Vic West into downtown slowdown continues. It seems like it's, at its peak right now as the Bay Street Bridge continues to be closed. They still are on track, they say, to get all that Bay Street Bridge repair work done by June 17th. So we got about another month of this still. That is just the eastbound lane, of course. You can still get into Vic West going the other way.
I got to say, as I was crossing Point Ellis Bridge, Bay Street Bridge this morning, at the official sign, it said opening May 14th.
What?
And I almost stopped the car and went, what? I'm like, no, that's not possible. But there was a sign
saying that. Interesting.
And it does not look like it's opening May. It does not look like it's opening until June because there's, girders everywhere. And anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny because it made me double look.
Well, if you know why the sign says that, maybe there's news I don't know. Text me at 71010. If you got an update, I'd love to hear from you.
That'd be something.
Yeah.
Start a rumor.
That would be huge news because that is what I can't leave Esquimalt nowadays because I live here and trying to get anywhere. You can't go across the John Street Bridge because it's busy.
It reminds me
can't
of driving in LA
because it's busy.
It's a small city, but it reminds me of driving in Los Angeles because you really have to plot your course if you're trying to get somewhere within a certain amount of time.
A quick look at the weather. Increasing clouds today. Chance of showers coming at us this afternoon and overnight. Highs of 21, lows down to 11 tonight.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Lots going on the show today. We have this texter at 71010 saying, I love dogs. The reason they're texting is because a few moments ago we were talking about office dogs. There are studies suggesting office dogs reduce stress and can improve a lot of different workplace situations, provided it's the right dog and there's no allergies and, there's nobody who's afraid of dogs. All that kind of stuff has to be taken into account. But what's your opinion of the office dog? Texter says, I love dogs, but trying to concentrate whilst an adorable pooch gazes at me wanting scritches would be very distracting, being somebody already easily distracted. Squirrel! Well, I don't think it would help me, says the texter.
You never know, though. I don't know.
Can I just, by the way, zero in on the word scritches?
I love scritches. It's so defining.
Is it a real word? Because I use it myself all the time.
Yeah.
But I just realized it's a ridiculous word.
That for you.
Scritches.
Well, it's a thing that I've obviously it is scritches,
Yeah, you kind of you get in behind the ear and you kind of get the little scritches.
Okay.
Yeah,
gently scratching an animal or a human, so you can give your partner scritches
too. I
too.
could be scritched.
If you so choose, everything's negotiable.
Usually I would think of it as a dog or cat getting the scritches, but I guess.
But it says here, and I didn't know this. It's good for humans too.
Well, thank you for letting me know about the scritches. And thank you for the text at 71010. That's fantastic.
It's light tactile interaction if you want us to get all sciencey on you.
Light tactile interaction?
Right? Doesn't that just sound grand?
That's all right.
I was giving Cola scritches earlier. She was really enjoying that.
That's the office dog that's here today causing us to have this conversation.
She's a corgi, so if she wants scritches, she gets his scritches.
Anyways, lots going on today. There's the dogs, but there's also, we got a lot of people weighing in on this issue because we're talking about cooling rental apartments today.
It's a big deal.
A lot of people weighing in all day long about their take, whether or not they think this is a thing that should be taken more seriously, or maybe there's some issues with the costs associated with it. But the reason
that needs to be unpacked.
The reason it's come up is because at Victoria City Hall this Thursday, councillors will be discussing this motion to ask staff to explore this. So, by the way, I don't want to get ahead of this. This is just asking staff to look into options. But the options they want to look into are, should we make it so that, one, landlords can't prohibit tenants from installing cooling devices like little AC units in their units, or should the landlords be responsible for cooling, just like they are making sure units have the ability to heat themselves is something you got to do.
Correct.
Should heating also be something that is made mandatory?
And can the grid take it on the particular apartment building you're living in?
Victoria City Councillor Matt Dell was on the show earlier talking about this motion, which is why we brought it up. So here's a bit of how he pitched it.
For context, Ryan, in the heat dome, 670 British Columbians died, including about 18 in the CRD. And I think that's got to stop and reflect on that number. That was a significant amount of people that died simply because of a couple of days of heat. And we know that those type of heat domes are going to be coming in more often. And so we know these type of deaths will be happening. And we just can't let that happen. So I think all municipalities in the province have been looking at what can we do to make sure people aren't overheating in their own homes. And New Westminster was the first municipality in British Columbia who said, you know what, we're going to have a bylaw that just says rental homes must be below 26 degrees on a hot summer day. And so what we're doing is asking Victoria, our staff, to look into a similar bylaw and report back on how it would work, what are some of the nuances and complexities of that. And I just think that's an important thing to do to help kind of plan for a safer future for the city.
For New Westminster, how did they do it? Like, they say you can't have it go hotter than this. So does that mean that it is required to have cooling units installed? Or what does it actually mean for I guess, a landlord in New Westminster?
Yeah, so New Westminster said you cannot have there must be a room in a building or in an apartment that's below 26 degrees at all times. So, yeah, that means at least one room must have an air conditioner, a heat pump, be hooked up to a HVAC system. So let's say there is a heat wave and temperatures here get to 100 degrees Fahrenheit and people are really hot. At least somewhere in the building will be 26 degrees, because that's what health experts say is the maximum where the human body essentially starts to have issues above 26 degrees. So in New West, all buildings will be required to have one room that are below 26 degrees.
But that was Victoria City Councillor Matt Dell speaking here on the program earlier in the morning, just talking about what they're looking at exploring and what New Westminster already did.
And I think he's absolutely right for them to begin to explore it. I think there just needs to be a lot more dialogue around it, because I don't think it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we had it once, we prepare for everything else during Emergency Preparedness Week. How do we prepare to avoid something like this happening? We can't avoid another heat dome from happening, but we can keep people safe during the course. And whether it's making sure the misting stations are up immediately, that we have other cooling stations available, but also within your own home, if you choose not to leave, how do you cool it off? So with Victoria having a lot of older rentals, because they survived, it's mild winters here. How do we do that? And at least exploring it. I love the idea that they're at least looking at it. What can we do? They're not saying that you're responsible or someone else has to pay right now. It's just let's look at the whole thing, whether it's landlords, whether it's tenants. Can the building support it? It's obviously it'd be tailored to the particular building. What can we do? And I like that. I think that's future planning. That's forethought on behalf of City Hall.
Well, if you missed it and you are interested in this topic, you can go back and hear that full interview with the Victoria City Councillor by going to CFAX1070.com. You can bring up sound bites from the show, or you could just follow Ryan and Lisa, the podcast, on any podcast service you use. We put up a whole version of this program up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the iHeart app, of course, all these places. But for now, I just realized the time. We're out of it. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Thank you for Morgana Adby for producing today's show, and we will talk again tomorrow.